Hey, listen, if you're doing your research here in the preseason, you come to find a few players that are just must have players for fantasy football. I got my own. Let's take a look at the list. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Welcome back. Fantasy Headliners here, presented by RotoBaller. And I haven't had a video come out in a couple weeks, so it's good. Been busy. Got to go to the NFFC, National Fantasy Football Convention. Met a ton of people in the industry. Got to hang out with Matthew Berry a little bit. Met a lot of fantasy-relevant athletes. Got a few tidbits of information that I plan on sharing here over the next few weeks. It was a great time. I did miss making videos. However, you just can't pass this opportunity to go check it out. If you're anywhere near the Dallas-Fort Worth area next year when this comes out, try to head out there. Got to meet a lot of people. Great time, great fun. Looking forward to it again next year. However, now we're here for this year. And like I said in the intro, every year you have a list of players you got to target, players you just want to have on your fantasy team. So this is what I did. I went in there and I took each position. We have a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I have somebody inside the top 10 and somebody outside the top 20 that I'm targeting for each position. Just like other episodes, I'm not going to sit here and waste an hour of your time. Let's get into the list. Let's start off with the quarterback position just because it's where I want to start off. And let's start with somebody inside the top 10, somebody that I'm targeting. And yes, the ADP is a little high for this guy, but he's a top 10 quarterback, so it is what it is. I'm talking about Russell Wilson. Right now he's ranked as QB3, and that's pretty much right where he belongs. He's going to have a huge season again. He was last year's number one fantasy quarterback, and he'll be close to that again this year, barring injury. But this is why I'm putting him on this list as to why I am targeting him if I can get him in the right round. Have you checked out that defense in Seattle lately? This is no longer the Legion of Boom. It's like the Legion of Bobby Wagner, and that's like it. There's like hardly anything else there worth anything, and they're not going to be feared like they were in the past. That defense is a little weaker. They're going to give up more points. And if they're giving up points, what does that mean for Russell Wilson? It means he's throwing for 4 quarters. And if he can't find anybody open, he's more than likely running for it. The running game will be improved with Rashad Penny, but it won't be dominant by any means. And if you take out the 2016 year where Russell Wilson was injured, he averages close to 600 yards a year rushing, which is huge in fantasy football. It's kind of why him and Cam are always towards the top when it comes to those mobile quarterbacks. They get the rushing upside. He also averages less than 10 interceptions a year and gets you close to the 3,500 to 4,000 yard mark. That's consistent. It's high upside. It's a safe play in a division where he's going to be throwing a lot because the defense is weak. If I can get my hands on Russell Wilson, I'm going to take him. All right, so let's head to a quarterback outside the top 20 now. And let's see what kind of value we can get down there of somebody that I'm targeting. One of my fantasy must-haves here is my quarterback twos. It's Case Keenum in Denver. Right now he's currently ranked QB 26, so he's there towards the back half of almost every draft. And Case Keenum, up until last year was kind of a whatever. Great college quarterback, didn't do much in the pros. And then Minnesota happened last year, and he went crazy stupid. And then he gets, signed by Denver here in the offseason, falls into another great situation. Great offensive talent around him with Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, drafted Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, and they drafted Royce Freeman, who I'm extremely high on. He's got a great offense around him. It's not a great offensive line, but it's decent. And he's just an efficient quarterback. He has a career 62% completion percentage. And he just has that upside from week to week. Listen, he's not going to be your number 1, okay? But if he can be my number 2, he's a safe play on most weeks. I like myself some Case Keenum here at the back half of drafts. Let's move on to the running back position, shall we? And let's talk about somebody who's inside the top 10 that I'm definitely targeting here in drafts. He's one of my must-haves if I can get him. But I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk on it. Obviously, if you have one of the first 4 picks, you're going with Gurley, Zeke, Bell, or David Johnson. I get it. And if I get one of those guys, I will too. But after that, this is definitely the guy that I'm looking for. I'm talking about Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. Right now, currently ranked running back 10, so he's right there at the beginning of the second round-ish in drafts, which is great value for what you can get, especially if you want to go RB in the first 2 rounds. I mean, that could be a potential upside of, 40 touches a week if you went that way in drafts. And Dalvin Cook is probably going to be as close to a workhorse back as we've seen. I know, I get it, I hear it all the time. Well, he's coming off the torn ACL. Yep, he is, just like people do every single year that come back and produce again. He's had plenty of time to heal. He looks great in OTAs. He does have that second round ADP, which is a plus for a top 10 running back. And that defense is elite in Minnesota. They are going to be scary. They're not going to give up a whole lot of points in Minnesota. And if they're not giving up points with that offense that they have that can put up a lot of points, all that means is they're going to be running the clock out a lot this year. And if they're running a lot in the second half, who's getting those touches? It's your boy Dalvin Cook. He should see close to 300 touches this year. He's a 3-down workhorse. You can get him in the second round. That's who I'm targeting inside the top 10 for running back. All right, for my running back outside of the top 20, I'm going to go with running back 21 right now, which is Darius Geis. I know, he's a rookie, and every year we've seen rookies produce. But this year is supposed to be Saquon Barkley's year, right? Well, let's just talk about Darius Geis for a second. I had the opportunity to talk with Chris Thompson at the NFFC, and he has been blown away with Darius Geis here, how quickly he's picked up the playbook and how he just looks like he's been a pro for a while. Chris Thompson did also mention that he would rather line up on the outside. He'd rather run routes than take handoffs. And he kind of alluded to that being his role again this year. He's not going to be taken away from Darius Geis. Fat Rob and Samaje Perine are pretty much almost, second and third on the depth chart anyway for the early down work. Darius Geis looks like the real deal. And right now he's ranked running back 21. So somebody you can probably get right around the 4th to 5th round in your draft that has huge upside of a workhorse running back. He's great. He's going to get the opportunity. His teammates are already talking him up. And he's got a decent price tag. If I can grab Darius Geis right around the 4th or 5th round, I'm jumping all over it. All right, let's talk about pass catchers. Let's talk about the currently ranked wide receiver 10, and that's Doug Baldwin. And everything that I said about Russell Wilson pretty much goes for Doug Baldwin also, right? The defense isn't elite. They're going to be trailing in games. They're going to be trailing a lot in the second half. They're going to have to throw to catch up. There's going to be a lot of garbage time points. Who's going to be the recipient? It's going to be Doug Baldwin. Who else do they have to throw it to really in Seattle? Brandon Marshall's not even in shape. He may not even make the team. Tyler Lockett. I mean, there's not a whole lot of options there to throw it to. Doug Baldwin should see a huge amount of targets, and over the past 3 years, he's averaged close to 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns a year. That's great production, solid wide receiver, and if you went running back in the first and you could follow it up with a Doug Baldwin in the second, it's great value. Not to mention, he may almost slip to you in the third, and if that's the case, scoop him up, say thank you, and move on. All right, let's talk about a wide receiver now outside of the top 20, and it's wide receiver 23, Golden Tate. And I know, you hear Golden Tate, and even I said, as I'm saying it here on tape, I was like, it's Golden Tate. You're not like overly excited about it. But Golden Tate over the past 4 years has averaged over 90 receptions, 120 targets, and he's just consistent, right? He doesn't just get you all these points in 1 week. He spreads it out throughout the season. He doesn't have huge games, but it's somebody you can count on week in and week out. And for those of you who are saying, yeah, well, they're going to run the ball a lot more this year, they're going to try. I mean, they drafted Kerryon Johnson, brought in LeGarrette Blount, still have Amir Abdullah. I mean, there's a lot of running backs. There's a lot of running backs in Detroit. I get it. They're going to try to run as much as they can. But they don't have Matt Stafford there just to turn around and hand the ball off. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Yep, Marvin Jones is still there. Kenny Galladay's another year older. Eric Ebron's out of town, thank God. But they're still going to throw the ball in Detroit. And Golden Tate's going to see a lot of targets. Has that high upside ability. He can break the big one. Good speed, good hands, high volume offense. And he's wide receiver 23. Sign me up for some Golden Tate. All right, let's move on to something that I've never been called before. Let's talk about some tight ends, shall we? Now, there's not a whole lot of options at tight end, right? It's kind of like the thinnest position ever in fantasy football. You have Gronk, Kelsey, maybe Ertz, and then it's just like everybody else. Like they're all in like one tier by themselves because they all have upside, they all have potential, but we just don't know. Kyle Rudolph is going to be who I'm talking about here. He's at tight end 7 in Minnesota, and he's just got that potential with Kirk Cousins, who we've seen use the tight end a lot in the past. Rudolph is close to that 800 to 1,000 yards, 8 to 10 touchdown range, and that would put him as like tight end 2. And that is great value for somebody that you can get right now in the 6th round of your fantasy drafts, that you could get the same amount of production you could see out of Travis Kelce this year, except you waited 4 rounds, 3 rounds later. That's great production. We've seen how, Cousin uses his tight ends in the past. He made Vernon Davis relevant again, and Jordan Reed whenever Jordan Reed played. And there's been, flashes that even Niles Paul produced a little bit with Kirk Cousins in Washington. And Kyle Rudolph is a huge upgrade. He did have surgery in the offseason on his ankle, I believe, and he seems to be fully healed, ready to go, looking great, going to be a big target for Kirk Cousins this year. And at tight end 7 with that value, I'm all over it. So let's go outside the top 20 of the position for tight end, and let's talk about Cameron Brate, who's currently tight end 21 out there in Tampa Bay. And before all you guys hit me up down below telling me that I forgot all about O.J. Howard, I didn't, all right? I didn't forget about O.J. I know he's still there. I know he's awesome. I know he's a freak athlete. I've seen it. But Tampa Bay just paid Brate a lot of money, and I don't know why they would do that if they were just planning on handing it off to O.J. Howard. Cameron Brate's pass and run blocking skills are like almost non-existent, where O.J. Howard is a great blocker. So if they're going to repay Brate, say that 3 times fast, they plan on using him. He's one of Winston's favorite targets, so yes, the first few weeks of the season, I don't expect Brate to be overly utilized. However, after that, somebody you can pick up on waivers late as your bye week replacement for whoever you do draft there in the early rounds. Cameron Brate has sneaky high upside. He's got 14 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. He's one of the favorite targets of Jameis Winston, which he will be again. And last year, when Winston was under center, he was tight end 4. So if you can get somebody with that upside at tight end 21, who you could take in the next to last round, heck, you could probably pick him up off waivers in most leagues, and have that type of upside potential, I'm all over Cam Brate. So those are a few of my fantasy must-haves here for 2018. Like I said, I could put a ton of people's name on this list. I could probably have I want a lot of people, but roster limitations, you just can't have everybody, right? So if you have somebody out there in mind that you're thinking of, man, I think I really want this guy, I just don't know if I should. Is this somebody I need to target? Hit me up down below. Throw me some names. Let's talk about it back and forth. In the meantime, though, make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing. Looking forward to hearing from you. We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.